don't pick that life picked you. Welcome to Sitdownnews, and before I begin, I'd like to mention our sponsor. Ratchet is a clothing company from the UK started by a young man with a vision, a dream, and determination. They have various prints and styles for men, women, and children. I'll include a link to their website down below in the description for this video. For those of you who don't know of Johnny Sideburns, he's a member of the Lucchese family and was part of our crew, the Brooklyn faction of the family. As I mentioned in a previous video, Johnny Sideburns, before he went away, had an associate with him named Ritchie Guagdano. However, he was stolen, or as we would say, poached by Patty Delarosa. Due to politics, when Sideburns got out, he tried to reclaim Richie. Matty Madonna said Richie stays with Patty, but after some time, Patty gave Richie back to Sideburns. Now in that life, you need to be able to control your associates. Obviously Patty couldn't, but neither could Sideburns. Richie was an associate that brought problems. He needed to be kept on a short leash, and as this story unfolds, Sideburns showed he was unable to do that. What I didn't respect about Sideburns was, aside from Richie, he had Richie's brother Glenn with him as well, and on a week-to-week basis, he would tell me that either Richie or Glenn was no good. Sideburns took on the famous Lucchese method of labeling guys rats. In the beginning of 2018, Sideburns asked me to come to his apartment. He was shook up when I got there. He told me that fucking Richie's a rat, he's no good. I said, John, I'm confused. Last week Glenn was no good and Richie was good. You got to make up your mind. He smiled and said, listen to what happened. He told me that Richie and him made a score with construction, $2.2 million to be exact, his end being $1.1 million. He said that Richie was giving him a runaround and that if I could get the money from him, we could all make money. The story was confusing, and allegedly Richie deposited $1.1 million into his business account. Naturally, the confusing part for me was Sideburns was the wise guy, so how was his associate giving him the runaround? What I told Sideburns was to get Richie there the following day, and I was going to tell him that he was now with me. The following night, I had this kid AJ who was with me drive me to Sideburns' house. Richie and Sideburns were standing outside. I said hello to them both, and I turned to Richie. As of today, you're officially with me. I told AJ to get his number, and then I told Richie, you'll be hearing from me shortly. I had Danny Campo reach out to Richie and set up an appointment the next night at my friend John DiLorenzo's restaurant in Farmingdale. At the time, Danny was an associate of Patty Delarosa. Rosemary's had a pizzeria on one side and a restaurant on the other. John DiLorenzo had an artist paint murals in the pizzeria that I always found funny. That night I was upset because Danny showed up with AJ, but AJ sat at the bar. Danny and I were sitting at a table in the back waiting for Richie, who was late. About 5 minutes later, Richie came walking in, and before I could remind him that he was late, he apologized and said that he hit traffic. He was coming from Howard Beach, so it didn't surprise me. Before we started talking, I reminded him to always be truthful with me. Then I told him, I'm not Sideburns, I want you to understand that. He looked at me and nodded his head. He began to get into this long drawn-out story, but I stopped him. How they pulled the score off didn't matter to me. My concern was what happened to the money. I asked him to tell me about the check that he deposited and what happened to the other half of the money. His answer made my blood boil. He said, I didn't deposit no check and we didn't get any money. That's what I was trying to tell you. It's important to understand my mentality back then was Cosa Nostra. I believed what my brother, Sideburns, told me before anything else. I told Richie I had to go make a telephone call, so I went out into the parking lot and called Sideburns. He answered the phone with, what happened? I told him what Richie just told me, and he said he's a fucking liar. That's what he's good at, lying. I said, well, now he's going to pay for lying to me. I got off the phone and headed back in the restaurant. When I sat back down at the table, I asked Richie if he still wanted to tell me that he didn't deposit a check. Again, he said he never received any money. I looked around and there was only one occupied table who looked like they were paying the check. Our table was quiet. Danny and Richie looked nervous, and then Richie did something that made no sense. He put a pair of glasses on. I remember thinking to myself, would this guy watch too much Bugs Bunny? As soon as the couple and the busboy were gone, I hit Richie and threatened him with a fork to his throat, never to lie to me again. Danny grabbed me and Richie quickly left the restaurant. I went to go see Sideburns to tell him what happened. He seemed happy and said, "Watch, he'll come running to me now." An important statement coming from him. The next day I met with Patty. He said, "Let's have Richie meet us tomorrow at 5 a.m. When he sees me, he'll shit." Patty just wanted to get the money. He said, "Fuck Sideburns, he's not getting a dime. We'll whack it up between us." But I didn't do things like that, so whatever money I did get, I would give Sideburns half. We had Danny reach out to Richie and tell him that he had to meet with me the next day. We met about 20 minutes to 5 at a Babylon diner called South Bay, which was close to Patty's house. Patty and Danny were in Danny's car and I was in mine. I told them when I got there I want to take a quick drive around the area to look for bad cars, meaning the FBI. Patty said that they would drive around and look too. I met them back at the diner about 5 to 5, and we waited till about 5:20, and Patty said he's not showing up. I met with Patty later that day. He said the both of them are full of shit, and he'd be surprised if 100,000 was involved. "Let Sideburns deal with Richie," he said. "You did your part." When Patty left, Danny said Patty told him he brought a pistol earlier when we were supposed to meet Richie. I laughed. I thought he said Richie would shit when he seen him. As predicted, Richie did go running to Sideburns over this, and Sideburns seemed to be in better spirits, and then it hit me. Did Sideburns do this so Richie would appreciate being around him? And whatever happened to the money? The strange thing was, Sideburns upgraded his Infinity to the Q70, and then he mentioned moving to a better place. It makes you think. You can subscribe to the Sit Down News blog at sitdownnews.com, and I appreciate everyone who has subscribed. Thank you. Well, just another example in the mob you never knew about. Hope you enjoyed the story. If you would like to subscribe to this channel, you could do so down below. If you would like to subscribe to my other channel, Unlimited Substance Podcast, I'll add a link in the description for this video.